Okay, so the Rolls-Royce pump rebuild, right, I've got the kits. Let's take one end off just to tell them what was inside and the details on the label. So we're just going to take these ends off, separate the two halves. These are identical either end, and lay them out, leave the pump in the middle. Right, I've just taken one side apart, so I'll show you how to do this. Undo those two screws, take the cover off. Right, side view, just so I can film it. Right, so get a suitable pick. These little covers will just come off. Come on, tease it out. One, two. All the little pumps come out as well. And the filter. So, there you go. That's that. Right, take this cover off. There, see the old seals coming off there. Look. I do try and save the old seals, let's save them more from a womble point of view, and just in case something goes wrong, like you chew it up or you drop it and stand on it or something, you know, the wind blows it off the table and you stand on it or something, or whatever happens, you know, you don't know. So if you can save them, and then don't throw them away until you put it back together and it's all running. So we'll take this off as well, 4 screws. So you end up with this little window. You can put your finger inside. Push it out and maybe there, that comes out there. So undo these 2 pegs, clean the body off. So just going to soak the body in some gum wash thinners, clean the stuff off the outside. Right, so clean the body off. Put that little thin ring in there, then your brand new little window and the little rubber ring on top. Tuck it in so it sits in happy, then put the 4 screws on with the cover. So I've just cleaned that off with it. This has all come out in thinners, and cleaned it all off with a wire brush. Just clip those off with the blade. Right, obviously the top cover, you put your little cork gasket in there. That's all clean off. Put that back on there. So just put the other side together. So this is when you take note of the orientation of what went where. All the body's been cleaned off. I soaked it in thinners, cleaned it off with a wire brush, and cleaned all the faces and stuff. Wiped it out, make sure there's no dirt in there, so it's all happy. Alright, so you get your little soft washer. That one went that side. Then the other side, where the little cage is, the little filter. Put the soft one in there. And put your little cage in. And put your other little soft filter. Then put that in there. And then you get your little covers like that. Just remember what these little covers remind me of, actually. So I just stopped it for a second there because this one was still jammed up together with the old one. But yeah, they remind me of the escape pod, James Bond's escape pod in Moonraker. It's the little, it's just shaped like that when he's floating in the middle of the water. Anyway, so put that back on, put your little cover back on, screw that in, and then that side's done. I've cleaned up the bolts and stuff, and these, you basically get the new O-rings out of the kit. You got two kits, you get two of these O-rings in each one. Obviously, if it's just for one normal pump, you'd only have two of these. Probably not all three like this, so pretty straightforward. Put them in, screw them in, carry on. Right. I'm going to do the electrical bit. You can see on here they're a bit corroded, and the points, it just looks a bit grey, old. I did find a site. I will put the link, sorry, that way up, classicrollsa.za. It gives you, printed it off, it gives you a step-by-step guide how to do it. So I'm just basically going to talk you through those steps. So you take your cap off, that's just a simple nut. This is a 2BA spanner. Take that little washer off and the nut. Now note that this nut has a convex side, so it's slightly dished. More on that later, but you've got to make sure it goes back the same way. Right, take the little contact blade out. See the underneath of these, they do look pretty dry. Corroded. The bits in the pump actually looked all right. Right. Keep all the little bits. There are new ones in the kit, but like I said before, you never know what's going to happen, so keep all the bits just in case. Yeah, so they're very poor contacts. Now you can lay those bits out, so I'm going to move these out again. There are sets of washers. As you undo these, there's a little spring washers and tabs underneath. Just note which way they go in for when you put it back together again. There's the bolt. We'll clean those up. See, there's a little split washer. Just careful. See, these are all quite dirty. All these little bits of dirt and rust add up to stuff not working. So, coil resistor thing. There's a new one in the kit. Dirty bolts, we'll clean those up. And there you go. There's a little lead washer on here, which you sort of lift up carefully with a blade and get it off. There, I didn't film it all because it doesn't make for very good television, whatever, you know, sometimes it can be a bit fiddly, so you just lift it up. And again, there's another little tab washer on there, so be careful of that. Now, if you haven't done already, I just scrape the remains of the dirt and stuff on the outside of the body, take this tube off, just to tidy it up so you don't get dirt on your fingers and then contaminate what you're doing when you're putting it back together. So just clean that off a bit. I just want to get it sort of clean, usable. I need to get the car running. If you've got more time, you can paint it, stick diamonds on it, whatever, but bear in mind it's hanging underneath the car behind a bracket. Okay, so you've got the points there. Just clean this off a bit. This pin just slides out. Again, you get a new one with it, with the kit. Yeah, you see those points are pretty rough. Right, get the points out of the bag. See how they are completely flat. Careful the little wire on it. So you hold your points that way, and then carefully feed it through the first bit. Find the hole in the little sort of baker-like casting. Where is it? There we go. You see it poke through there. Through the bit in the middle, through the other side. There we go. And they should be able to flop back and forwards like that. So, careful of this wire. That's got to eventually go around the side. Now, turn it back up the other way. You got your spring washer on that stud. Put the little terminal on there. Rest those there. Find your little lead washer. Right, see a little lead washer on there. Get that concave side. Put that on there, and then put one of your screws in the base. Right, just use that. Clean these up with a wire brush. Careful of the little wires. Put one screw in there just to hold it still. Put one through. You want the spring washer at the bottom, so put that in there. Put the little spring washer on. Can be a bit fiddly, and you got to make sure that wire goes through that little gap, or you won't get the lid on afterwards. Now, just again, that is a, see it's on there, a 2BA spanner. 5/16 isn't big enough, 3/8 is too big, 8mm isn't big enough, 9mm is too big. You could use a small adjustable if you're careful, it's up to you. But you can do that one up tight, do these up and do these up, and again, as I said, careful to keep these wires just tucked in around the outside as you do them up. You see sometimes I've got that little tab casting on there, but just make sure it's not on the outside. See, I've just moved that around a bit, so might move that one over. Anyway, just so you can get a lid on. Okay, so you've got something like that. Now put that in there. You've got this little other washer in there. Slide that in the bottom. Now you can see the top will just poke through to where that little aluminium nut is in the middle. So you find that and just start to screw it in by just holding it that way, screwing it in. You see, you just sort of catch it like that. So keep pushing it in and turning it. Quite a reasonable way, quite a few turns. And it says it's until it just throws over. See, right, that one's not throwing over. So we'll wind it on, back it out a little bit. See that going over, right? Bing, that's what you're looking for. But if you screw it in a bit more, that goes in, but the points aren't throwing over. So wind it out slightly. There we go, like that. Now check the clearance of this top bit. You're looking just in there. That, got some old feeler gauges. 0.9 mil. Should just go under there. So that's how you do it. If it's not quite right, bend that tab slightly, because that dictates where it rests underneath, which will then dictate that measurement. There we go, just have to tweak this one ever so slightly. Delicate, but there you go. You measure something that's 0.9, sometimes some sheets of metal are 0.9. Just give you an idea, get it as close as you can. And then that gap in there has to be 2.3. And again, I just found this old spanner, just measured a few things with my micrometer, cleaned the edge up. That happens to be 2.3. So you tweak it until this will just fit through. That's a bit tight, so we'll bend that up slightly. It's not much, it literally is just, it's almost like you're barely touching it, but a bit more. So yeah, whatever you've measured that's 2.3, it should then just nicely go under. Right, when you've done that, take the contacts off again. And that's not really just throwing over, that might be, is that about right? Out there, if we put it forward a bit, that's not quite doing it, so looks like you turn it left to the nearest hole, which is that one, because there is going to be just about throwing over. There. Right, so turn it to the nearest hole and then turn it 2/3 of a turn. So put that 1/3 of a turn, 2/3 of a turn, and that should be correctly set. Don't worry if you get it wrong. All you got to do is just do it all again. Now, undo this again. You've got to fit the little terminal and put the contacts back on. Just bear in mind the shape of the lid. You want the wire to be able to fit in that area. Now, my pump had these little plastic things in there, but the kit come with the brass rollers. I spoke to Berlin Fuel Systems and they said that they found these caused a bit more friction. Now, if that's all you got, then reuse it. But if not, I always believe in doing what they say. So you just carefully tuck these in, and like they said, they might well fall out. So I'm not going to try and do it on here because it's the wrong angle trying to film it at the same time, but you get the idea. Tuck them all in, sandwich that on top, and screw it together. So there you go, now it's ready for testing. Now, these guides all come in, there's all instructions on all the kits, which is basically the same thing that's on that site and which I've just talked through. So, you know, it's straightforward. All that probably took me about, I don't know, 5 hours or so. Yeah, the next one will be a bit quicker. I'm just going to try and find some correct diameter tube to renew those. This is a bit crusty. So I just checked. This is the other one is still on the car. One of the brackets was still on the car as well because I couldn't get to the bolt. I thought, well, I'll take it off and do it when it's, hopefully if it'll run, I can get it on the ramp and sort that out. Again, I found a couple of these tubes. This is actually smaller diameter. It's not the normal wash wipe hose that's about 5mm. This is like 4mm stuff. But luckily I had some, but still, connect the earth up. You can feel it blowing out the top there. That's pumping. And the other side's pumping. So, we're in business. Just got to get it on the car.